Okay, today I wanted to talk about my Octopath uh, Traveler characters, basically. So I've been playing Octopath Traveler 2. I played the first one, enjoyed it, and I've been really enjoying the second one. And so what I kind of did was, as in the last video, I went over basically kind of some of the not stereotypes, some of the patterns that they follow for everything, and kind of what they do as far as their characters. So, they have all the different classes for it. So they've got a warrior, they had a scholar, who's of course the equivalent of a black mage. We have the hunter, who of course uses kind of bows and monsters. That's sort of their thing. Oops. Their thing. The cleric, which is the white mage. Let's see. Staff. Then we've got the merchant, who kind of breaks some of the typical jobs, basically, because a lot of these RPGs and stuff kind of follow the same jobs more or less for it. Merchant. Then we've got the thief. Let's see, thief. Let's see, we'll do a dagger. Little short dagger for him. Thief. Then I've got. I swear, every time I count through this, I always end up missing one of them. We've got a dancer. Dancer. And then merchant, scholar, hunter, thief. Alright, the next one's going to come up to me in a second, because I literally always miss one of them. Let me see. Let's go to old Dr. Google. Let's see. Merchant, cleric, dancer. Oh, apothecary. That was it. There we go. So these are the different characters, and basically the way it works is each of these, they involve more or less the character's backstory. So basically their job is actually kind of that in the actual game. It's their actual job. So it develops on that. It develops their move set. So any sort of spells or attacks basically get kind of interpreted and kind of colored more or less through this background, and it kind of usually works on their goals forward in the story. So basically their character development. So in the last video, I went through and kind of detailed what I wanted for if I was to come up with 8 characters just as an exercise, and I came up with a number of them, and one of them I really liked was kind of my play on the dancer. So what I had initially was kind of going through 2 things. So all of them, it's 8 characters in total. Each of them, and I didn't realize until the end of them, each of them have their initials that spell the first letter of each name ends up spelling out Octopath. But each of them, they kind of vary in terms of at least 4 women, 4 men. And so the dancers previously have been 2 women. The first dancer was kind of the sultry, kind of Middle Eastern dancer, basically. The second one is a bit more like the Irish dancers. It definitely has that theme for it. She has her in song, which is a great song. I think it's in Gaelic, but it kind of gives a very Celtic woman style kind of dance for that. But basically, so this one I wanted to do it a male dancer and kind of change it up a little bit, because again, if I'm writing and doing Octopath 3, basically, if it's my job to come up with number 3, I want to take kind of the familiarity of the existing one, but it can change it up, make it new, make it interesting. So I've got a few options for them. So I had an option for a juggler. That would kind of be a bit more like maybe like a trapeze sort of guy. Somewhat in the clown area, but not quite, because everybody hates clowns for good reason, because they're scary. But kind of a juggler, jokester, a fool, kind of playing the role of the fool. This would be one. So this is kind of one option I had. And then I thought of another one, which I think I like a lot more. So this is probably one I'm going to develop out today. Is going to be the puppet master. And basically the puppet master's more or less is going to have his little bitty characters that are going to dance and do the actual dancing. And so based on that, this guy's going to have really long arms, and that's just how it's going to work. And each of the characters are actually going to do the dancing for it. So in the game, you have a dancing that raises attack, basically. Attack, and then we got magic, power up, or defense up, something like that. That'll give each of the characters bonus moves, more or less based on the dance. And again, it was kind of interpreted previously, and the other two were the more, we'll call it sultry dancer, and then it's also kind of like a tap dancer, traditional dancer sort of thing. No, something like that. So the puppet master, where basically the idea is that our character himself, is not actually dancing. It's the puppets. And I just thought that was it was very different from the previous one, and so I kind of wanted to see what we could come up with that. So the way the story arcs are built in Octopath is more or less, usually it's about 4 to 5 chapters, basically. Because basically you're dividing the main story between 8 characters, basically. So you can't go hugely into depth with them, but you do want to make sure everything takes the time and kind of can flesh them out succinctly and accurately and everything. So what we do basically is usually chapter 1 is kind of the prologue. So basically this is introducing the characters, setting up their backstory, and usually it's fairly tragic or inspirational. It can kind of go into a few different directions. That's kind of the joke with all the D&D characters. If you come up with a D&D character background, it doesn't actually have to be tragic. It could be inspirational. But the reason why a lot of people do tragic is somebody who's really, really happy in his home life probably is not going to leave to go on an adventure because they're really happy. So usually something tragic, inspirational, or we'll just title it as adventure. Kind of somewhere in the middle there. Kind of that can encapsulate both of those. But this usually sets the back character for it. Then chapter 2 is kind of usually initiates, obviously they all connect, but usually it'll be kind of like a launching page. So here we are, here's the bad guys. So we usually say kind of introduce the bad guys to some degree. We'll see the first sign of them. And then chapter 3, in a few of it, they kind of do it where there's kind of 2 chapter 3s sometimes. Will be 2 different things. So it's like, hey, we need to do these 2 different things, and we're going to go do both of them. So Thrones, for her, she's the thief in the second one. Hers, she had to kill 2 people. So this is person A and person B. So she's got to kill. So these both kind of are done in succession. And then once you kind of do one or the other, then it kind of goes on to chapter 4, basically. And then chapter 4, or in this case, sometimes chapter 5, usually results in a showdown. So usually, partially from here, we get a bit more of the mystery. Somebody's driving something out there. More of the, mystery. More of the mystery. More of the mystery, more of the backstory, more of the antagonist kind of going through it. And then 4, we usually get the 4 or 5, kind of whichever is the actual showdown for it, is the full picture, basically. Because usually what it is you're following after someone, but you don't know, why they do this, why they do that, what's the point, what's their goal, what's their plan behind all of this. And then this usually what comes out in chapter 5 or 4, whichever is the final one, and then you fight and kill them. And then that kind of ends, and then there usually is a sort of ever after, where you kind of see the fallout of your success. I was going to say or failure, but all of these succeed. So this is kind of the blueprint we're going to use basically for our character. So usually, and again, like I said in the other one, their jobs kind of set their moveset and their goals. So in this one, we've got a dancer. So basically, we need to fit something in what is his goal as a dancer. For the 2 other dancers, our first one, this one was a Revenge 1. Basically, a bunch of people had betrayed her family and murdered her father and all that, so she was after vengeance. So she was trying to kill, she ended up killing like 4 or 5 people that were part of this Assassin's Guild, basically. I think that was it. Assassins. This one was to kind of retrace her mother's steps, basically, and become a star, become a great dancer. So it was very much a inspirational. Oddly enough, it was by far the most wholesome story of the lot in the second one. And it was kind of retrace her step, inspire people, and kind of learn more about dancing. So that's kind of, it was a bit more of these, what I would classify it in the adventure, much more in the adventure, whereas the first one was there in the tragic story. So we've got a few options to kind of go for our story. And what I kind of wanted to do is what we'll do over here. Let's start with chapter 1. I haven't thought of a name for our fellow, because there is that restriction. There is that restriction for the having it start with one of the letters of Octopath. So we'll see. I'm not going to worry too much on his name. We'll just call him, let's see, we could do, I think I was called somebody Oscar, but that was probably the warrior in the last video. Let's see, what would be a good, I'm thinking a good, let's go with a good Russian name. I'm feeling Russian or Polish, kind of Polish sort of deal. So we're going to go with the Eastern European, because I really enjoy that sort of influence. So we're going to go with Petrov. Let's see, I think that's probably more Russian, but Slavic, so there could be some overlap over there. So Petrov, we're going to call him that. This is his. So he is going to be, the one I'm going to be doing is going out the puppet master sort of deal. So his prologue, so this is his backstory. This kind of explains a little bit. A few things we want to do is answer, of course, the why he is a puppet master. You know, why, what caused this to happen? This could be, we've got a few options to play with, because I've kind of thought through this somewhat, but I don't have it all ironed out. So we've got to figure out kind of what's going to happen for it. So the why could be a family business, basically. You know, like his father and his father, or his mother and his mother before him, something like that. Family, it could have been only option, you know, some sort of deal. Maybe he ran away to join the circus, and this is the only option. Hey, we need a puppet master, and you're the only guy. So it could have been something like that. Only option. It could have been inspiration. This one would be he watched a amazing puppet master from before and wanted to learn how to do it, and that's what it was. Inspiration, something like that. There's a whole bunch of options that we can kind of play with and explore. Moving some stuff back here, so I have more room. There's a few options we're going to play with. The one I'm probably going to go with is inspiration. Inspiration for that. So let's say, and this is a pretty cool idea. I really like this one. So this is kind of, usually want the prologue, of course, to do a few things. Usually what I aim for the prologue is to set in motion the next step while also preparing the audience for the final step. So this is kind of what we want everything to do, basically. So we kind of know roughly what the next steps are going to be, but we kind of have a rough idea of what the final chapter is going to be. So this is going to be it's going to set the tone. It's going to set the tone, kind of what character. It's going to set the goal. It's going to kind of set all this stuff. So it's, you know, Hamlet. Example of this would be Hamlet, basically, is chilling in Denmark, more or less, and a spooky ghost shows up and says, Hamlet, Hamlet, your uncle murdered me. And that's what starts Hamlet. So basically, we kind of know from there, we have a rough idea what's going to happen at that point. Well, Hamlet's going to figure out what happened to his dad. Is this ghost just pulling his leg? Or is there something more to this? Is Hamlet going to get revenge? Basically, this is kind of what sets up the stage. This is the prologue for it. So that's an example of it. Harry Potter kind of gives you an example where, Harry Potter does a pretty good example of that. I'm trying to think. Actually, it may not be the best just because it starts off with talking about the Dursleys for like 50 pages or 20, 30 pages or so, which is a bit much. But let's see. Let's do, Inglourious Basterds, which is a phenomenal movie. But think of that intro scene with Hans Landa hiding the Jews. It gives you a very immediate, very famous scene. It gives you an immediate understanding of what's going on. You know what's going on. So the prologue. So we're going to do inspiration. So what we're going to do here is we're going to have him as a kid or as a child. We'll go with as a child. As a child, he witnesses a puppet show, famous puppeteer. So we're going to go puppet show, and what happens there is the puppet show asks for volunteers. He volunteers, and the puppet show then acts out. It basically ties his fate to, we could do a few options. There's a few options, to the story or to a specific puppet, basically. And you'll see what the difference will play out here. So the story or to the puppet, and then the puppet master in the show sets his Petrov's life to fate. It binds it in fate. We'll call it that. Binds to fate. Yeah, we'll connect all these dots. Connecting all the dots. Binds to fate. And so basically then it tells a story for what's going to happen next in Petrov's life. And so the puppet show has, let's say, some tragedy. Let's go with the tragedy. And this kind of the character I like the idea of doing is I wanted an Eeyore character. So this is going to be our Eeyore character. And for that, we're going to tell it, because again, we got to answer, what's his family like? What's his family like? So let's go with we're going to go with a distant and neglectful full family, basically. The reason why, I'll explain to you, is because I'm going to kill them all. But I don't really want anyone to worry too much about it. So this is what we're going to do with it. So he tells a story, and that predicts what happens next. Life. He tells a story of Petrov's family who, let's see, die one by one. Again, he doesn't really care about his family, so it seems really sad, but it's not, because this is going to be really dark otherwise, and I don't really want it to go that direction of too dark of a story, especially with him being an Eeyore. So it's going to kill his family. This is the family who doesn't kill him, so it's going to kill the father, is going to die due to rocks. We'll say he's a traveling merchant, and he dies due to an avalanche. Let's see. There we go. That the mother dies to poison, so she's having an affair and dies to poison. There we go. Poison, we got a brother who gets murdered, gets hung. Let's say he's a criminal. He gets hung. That's fine. Got another brother who, let's see, he gets in a sword fight and dies, basically. Blood's better. And then we can go throw in a few other family members. An uncle who dies by shipwreck. So let's see. There we go. Water. Something like that. That's supposed to be a boat and a half, but we'll just leave it at that. A presumed boat and a half. Shipwreck and kind of etc. Maybe we don't want to do too many things, but maybe this is enough. Maybe these 5 is enough. Maybe he'll say, and there were more. And they die one by one. And so what happens, oops, my neighbor started that up, so I'm going to close my window now. There we go. Sorry about that. Neighbors with giant trucks. Gotta love them. All right. And they die one by one. And basically the character understands that he's not sure if it was fate. So did he foresee this happening? Oops. Foresee this happening, or did he make it happen? That's what he wants to know from this. And then he predicts that he predicts something cryptic, let's say, for the main character. Because again, if he just runs off and kills all of his family that he doesn't care about, this is not too much of a story. So what we need to do is something cryptic about his own life, a cryptic curse that he interprets, basically. make it happen. There we go. So basically, he's got to figure out, Petrov has got to figure out, is this what is going to happen to me? You know, will this be my life from here on? Will this be my life? Is this what's going to happen to me? So this is chapter 1. And he goes and looking for the puppet master, and the puppet master leaves. But he was also inspired by it because he decided to learn as much about puppetry as possible. So this is how he knows about his puppets. So there you go. And he's got all the different puppets that do. And in the game, again, we're working within this confine. So these are all the different puppets that do different things. They might cast spells. They might do damage. There's a few different things that the puppets are going to do. They could tank, they could tank damage from him. They could attack, more or less all of these things. And he collects his story. Part of this cool part about the Octopath is you kind of get this progression that weaves the character story, backstory, goals, and moveset. So that throughout the game, your characters actually learn new spells, and it makes sense within their job, within their career, more or less. Within their career and job, and also within the story. So they kind of work all that in so you can kind of see the progression basically for it. So it's kind of going from point A, point B, C, D, and etc. And you can kind of see this real feeling of progression basically, because at the beginning of the game, if you replay or look back, you go, all these moves, all these different things, there's a tangible thing that you get out of the story. So this is the prologue, and I think we've got the prologue, and it took us a while to get there, so I'm probably going to zoom a little bit through the next parts. So let's see. All right, chapter 2. So what we've got to figure out now is, and I think this is a pretty compelling prologue to start with. Basically, we've got a character, what all do we have? We've got a backstory, we've got moveset, we've got goals, we've got an intriguing character, because that's the other question, is I also want to figure out what the best way, because I'm also curious to figure out, did he foresee this, or did he make it happen? Is this fate, or is this just, the crystal ball sort of thing? There's a great episode of Mushishi where this guy starts having dreams, and he starts predicting what's happening, but then he realizes, and he can't control them, but then he realizes that eventually he's causing them to happen. His dreams are causing these events, and it's this slow transition where initially he's using his dreams to kind of help people out, but eventually gets to the point where he realizes that actually I'm the one causing this, and that causes a huge problem for him. So chapter 2, we're going to do, we've got to kind of figure out pretty rough angles for this. Let's see. For it and go from there. And again, this is probably not going to go too much into his character. He's an Eeyore character, so I think this will kind of give us a good example to kind of go through this, but we kind of need to just map out the blueprints for what it is. So we can start, there's a few different ways you can start this. We can either have chapter 5 or not have chapter 5, have 2 chapter 3s. I'm just going to do this linear progression. So he's got to figure out who this puppet master is. So what is, again, we know where he's going to do. So let's say it's going to be showdown with the puppet masters. It's going to be, have some cool title called Duel of Fates, basically. I think that's the Star Wars song. Duel of Fates, basically where it's that, and it's basically going to be down to maybe the cryptic thing, either all the cryptic, this guy is possibly causing it, and this is the part I don't really know yet. I've got kind of 2 options I'm going to go with it. One, that he's causing this to happen, or that he's reading it. That's the foresee versus cause, basically. I've kind of got 2 options. If it is causal, he goes, if you win, then this doesn't come true. Then this doesn't come true, basically. He'll make it so this does not become true. But if you lose, then this will be your life, basically. I won't kill you, but this is going to be your fate. That's kind of option 1. If he's reading it, maybe he'll die, and there's kind of like a ... And then there's like a bit more ambiguous of an ending. And, I wonder what he meant, basically. I wonder what will happen. I wonder what will happen of this cryptic thing. So this is kind of the two options for it. And we're going to fight the puppet master. We're going to use all these puppets, and he's going to reveal maybe at the end that he's got a Petrov puppet basically, and maybe it's a puzzle fight where you got to figure out how to do it without killing Petrov puppet or something like that. These are more gameplay options, but you can really work them into the story, and that's what we want. So now we've got where 5 goes. This is where 5 goes, and maybe there's a whole, this is gameplay, and I'm just thinking because I keep trying to move on, but maybe there's a whole city of puppets, basically, where this puppet master has created a whole lifelike city, basically. And all these puppets kind of act and live out. Or maybe when you die, you become one of his puppets. There's a whole bunch of cool options that we can go for this. So then 2 and 3. So let's see, 2. Let's look up, find where the puppet master went to, let's see, where he went to school. Yeah, let's just go with that. So he went to school. So you're following in his footsteps. So you're seeing his school. You're going to talk to his classmates, trying to figure that out. You're going to find his teachers. And you're basically trying to learn more. You're learning about the mystery, basically. And you learn that there's something sinister going on. What is this guy up to now? Because remember, if he's going in the past, if he used to do this in the past, what is he now? What is his plot now? And maybe it's to create this lifelike clockwork city, basically, that he's trying to... Oh, here's a great one. This is going to be good. We'll put this at the end here. He's trying to recreate his life. His younger life. We'll go with this. Younger life, aka childhood. To, let's see, change the past. This is a good one. All right, so change the past. So basically something tragic happened to him in the past. So now that if he thinks he can get all the people from his past to be puppets and control them, then he can figure out, then he feels like he can change the past. Because after all, he manipulates people and they're just like puppets. And this is kind of his scheme, basically, to change the past. Something tragic happened. Doesn't really matter. We could go into a few details. Death of loved one. We've got wife. Insert familial member that's going to die. Child. Both. Could be a city. That's a good one. That kind of ties in. His city dies in a earthquake, volcano, etc. Maybe he accidentally does it. Maybe he betrays a secret, which results in the town getting killed. They were supposed to spare his family, but not only did they kill his family, they killed everyone. They killed him. Something like that. That works great. So basically, that's what we're trying to figure out. And basically, you get this idea that he's collecting, more or less, and that people go missing. Collecting and people go missing from his childhood, from people who knew him. You realize that people who were close to him have gone missing. So this is actually, you realize maybe that's what it is. You feel like they're all false or something like that. And then all of a sudden you find a missing person and you find them as a puppet. They've been created into a puppet and you have to fight them. And then you find a lead into number 3. Number 3 is a pupil. Maybe you're trying to track down his pupil. Figure out somebody who taught under him, more or less. This is going to turn Blade Runner really, really quickly on this, because all of a sudden this pupil is going to be a puppet all along. At some point, he either was always a puppet, or he voluntarily became a puppet, or involuntarily became a puppet. But basically, you're trying to figure out the pupil. The pupil's kind of got like a side mission where he wants to kill a bunch of people or something like that. I don't know, get revenge maybe on the people who destroyed the city. Maybe he got the city, destroyed the city. Let's see. Destroyed the city. And he's getting vengeance on them. Maybe it's a band. Could be a band or some marauders or ravagers, kind of like some sort of other evildoers that cause, them to do evil in turn. It could be a cult, could be an army, could be a kingdom. Kill / destroy. We're going to call it, family, something like that. Maybe a family or a mercenary guild, something like that. Basically, the pupil, we get to reveal more about the past and we get an insight into the goals, basically. Kind of like a breadcrumb. Goals. And we fight and kill him, and we end that. And then we have chapter 4, which is kind of interesting, is maybe there's a girl, and she is, we're pretty sure it's the daughter. So that's going to be chapter 4 is kind of about the daughter. The daughter. And you realize that, well, let's see. Now, the problem is if I have him be a puppet, I can't also have her be a puppet because it's double redundancy. Maybe he's not a puppet. Maybe she's the puppet. So let's cancel that, make her a puppet. And basically, she's been wandering around and living life normally. And you follow her and find her and realize, yeah, I'm not quite sure. This part gets a little bit sticky, but we're not quite sure. Maybe it's the twist. Maybe she's been helping you. Maybe she's helping you. Yeah, so she's helping you. Because that's the thing, he's a puppet master. So he's kind of got to fit the theme. So she's helping you, but she's also, manipulating you this whole time. Because it's all according to plan. And we'll have to balance that out. But manipulating you. So maybe she's the puppet the whole time. And this guy, went rogue. That kind of is always annoying because it's like when everything goes to plan, it's like, all right, now we're in a fantasy world. So he's going to go rogue out of zealousness. And do his own thing. And the guy's doesn't care, so he's going to go off and do his kill, destroy thing down here. Manipulating, but then you realize, and she tries to lead you into a trap, and then you escape, and then it turns out that she's a puppet all along, basically. She's a puppet all along. And that then leads into, you figure out where he is. He is in, maybe back in his city. His hometown, basically. His hometown is now a bunch of puppets, more or less. And it's also got a bunch of regular people. Because I don't want this to be too creepy or too sad, but you could go that direction where everyone's dead, or you could kind of go not that direction for it. So basically, we're going to have it so where not everyone is, and then you can do it, you fight, and we've kind of got these two options. And this is kind of thematic. This is a bit more how you want things to end up. And I don't know, I kind of like this cryptic one, because I kind of like the prediction, the fate being bigger than the characters, because if it only exists with the character, then when he dies, the fate goes with them. But if it's this, if he's acting in accordance with fate, then when he dies, there's still some greater power at play, which we can play with. So I kind of am leaning towards this one, but it kind of depends a little bit on this one, what the, cryptic message, what is going to be. I don't know. We'll have to think of something clever, something that'll be cool, sounds ominous, and kind of goes from there. Basically a cool message that's going to be repeated. It slowly builds. In the second one, they have this thing that's like, it's continually about the night. The night is coming, dawn of the night. Don't go into the night. Beware of the night. Kind of this thing, because it's this cryptic message of this ancient textbook, which summons evil, basically. Evil demons. And it's really cool to have this whole, like, ancient texts and tomes and stuff. And it, make a hole here. And we all love that stuff. It's basically it's like National Treasure. It's all the mysteries, it's secrets, it's demons, it's all that good stuff. So basically then that's what we do. You have to build into it. And kind of goes, more or less goes from there. I think that kind of covers it, more or less. And they'll kill the guy, of course, and then they'll save the people left over. Save the people left over. And then there's another reveal that we could do where he is a puppet all along. So our puppet master equals a puppet. He has been a puppet all along, so it kind of goes into this motif a bit more. Was he a puppet? Who's he a puppet of? Of fate, basically. And you realize maybe he's been dead this whole time. That would be really cool. Let's see. Maybe he's been dead this whole time. So basically he died. Maybe he died. That's what it is. He died here with his city. He died with his city and and his family, and he turned himself into a puppet and to enact this plan. And this puppet has been acting in accordance of fate, in accordance of this curse, basically, that he laid on the evil band of evil people. We'd come up a name with them from there. You know, they've got their, you know, flag, basically. Probably a skull or something evil. There we go. So Evil Band of Evil People. And this is, yeah, I really like this one. This is another twist. Again, this adds all the cool elements that we like in stories. You know, Fight Club twist, what is it, Sixth Sense. We've got a few different twisty movies that we can reference. That kind of play into this whole aspect of it that we can really use. And I really like this. I think this would work awesome as a character, and I kind of want to flesh the story out and see, and I might even use it in one of my own stories. But basically, this would be more or less one of my Octopath characters. Yeah, and I might do a few more of these, but I hope you guys enjoy this. Hope you learned it and learned something, kind of see the flow and kind of what we're looking for when trying to create a character, when we're trying to create a compelling story, and kind of how it works when you work within this very rigid format, and how freeing that could be, because you can kind of, it answers a lot of questions for you if you can have this. So again, hope you guys learned something. I'll see you in the next one.